All right. I think we are just about good to go and up and running. I see Sour Lad in the chat. Yo, what's up, Sour Lad? How you doing today? Let me load everything up on the drawing stream layout, and we will go ahead and get started. All right, let me take a look at the readout on the BGM. I will explain what BGM we're using today since we're not doing my loops for once. I'm going to switch it up. Sour Lad says, hello, Raku, I'm fine. And you? I'm doing good, man. I got a little bit blindsided by the daylight savings time switch where I live. And as a result, I didn't sleep as much as I would have liked. But other than that, I am here and ready to draw stuff, even though I sort of have a plan today. Alright, I'm going to leave the BGM here for now. Sour Lad, if you could give me a volume check. I'm using Spotify today, and let me know if you can hear the BGM and it's not too loud. If it's too soft, I can up it a little bit, but I'd rather it be a little bit more in the background so you can hear me when I'm talking. Alright, Sour Lad says sound is good. Thank you. Let me see here. Alright, everything's picking up on the tablet. Alright, so real quick, what am I doing here for BGM today? In the lower left corner, you can see the scrolling track info. We are listening to a company on Spotify called Wire Beats. And I just found out about this company a couple days ago, but they do royalty-free music and tracks for creators to use on things like YouTube videos, streams, and whatnot. And there's a couple out there I follow. Maybe after we go through some albums from Wire Beats, we'll switch up to another one. But this is significant because the company, the actual Wire Beats company and project, was created by internet meme legend and hilarious funny man Seth Everman. And if you've ever seen Seth Everman, he is I think he's from Sweden. He's the bald guy who does funny music videos with his instruments. He's hilarious, and he started his own company for creating music, which is great. So I definitely want to shout out Seth, and interested to hear the stuff on this project. Hey, Iconic's here. Iconic says, can't stay, sadly, but dropping by to wish you a stream as awesome as you. As always, cheering you on. Thanks, Iconic. I always appreciate you popping in, saying what's up. Hopefully you're having a good day. But yeah, so if you've never heard of Seth Everman, I highly recommend you check him out on YouTube. He's a funny guy. And the fact that he's created a project for putting music out there for creators to use is even more awesome. So that's what we'll be listening to for now on the stream. Alright, so what are we doing today? The reason why the now drawing caption on the layout here has question marks is because I didn't really have a plan when I set up today's drawing stream. I do have some project stuff I could work on, and the first thing I want to just mess around with at the beginning as we get started is my emote template. And let's see, this is the main one where some of the emotes you folks have seen in places like Discord, and right now I only have sub level 1 emotes enabled here on Twitch, but all the stuff that you've seen me use comes from these templates. And I think I talked about it before. It was a few streams ago now, but for some reason Twitch has a restriction on just follower emotes, which is something I didn't realize. Once you hit affiliate, the whole bunch of stuff opens up, like channel points and everything else. But follower emotes are not readily available, which is why you folks don't have access to unique emotes just for being followers. And that kind of sucks. According to the rules in Twitch, you have to stream as an affiliate for 2 months. I don't know if it's 2 months in days, or just 2-month duration from when you qualify for affiliate. I guess I'll find out as we go. But as a result, the ability to have follower emotes is sort of locked off until you've, I guess, proven that you're not going to be a problem. And as a result, the stuff that I had initially planned to roll out is going to kind of be backburnered until I hit that threshold, and I can enable several follower emotes for everyone to use. So if you're wondering why that's not available, that's why. I can't remember if I mentioned again. If anyone else asks, I'd be glad to repeat it, since I know it's kind of confusing. Sourlat says, we got this. Yeah, the time duration thing is not a big deal, really. It just means you have to go 60 days without getting like a DMCA strike or like a TOS violation, which is not terribly hard unless you do a lot of really edgy or risque content. And we do nothing but wholesome things here on this particular channel, so it'll just be a matter of time. I don't think it'll be difficult. All right, let me see where are we at. What I kind of want to work on for a little bit today, just to sort of warm up, would be some additional potential emotes. Let's see, where is it? 3/4? 3/4, okay. The ones that I've taken some initial emote designs from is this set right here that you can see. Let's see, which ones have I enabled? I don't remember. I want to say this one I've used for raids. I did a real janky animated GIF of this one. I think this one might be on the sub tier. And there's a couple other ones that aren't on this template. What I want to add to the basic follower one is this one right here. This one was one of my favorites. This one, the mic drop, I wouldn't mind emote or animating if I could figure out how to do that and not make it look like garbage. This one, the look of disapproval, that one could be good too. Depending on how many I eventually get unlocked, I'll have to kind of create a priority for which ones I want to put on here. Sourlat says, I love the second one on the bottom. Are you talking about this one, Sour? The grin? The totally not suspicious grin? Yeah, I like that one too. That's why I took that one and converted it into the raid emote, just because with the weird little vibrating animation I had, it's kind of funny. Oh, there's the head-on one. All right, let's see if we can create another one of these head-on ones. I don't know which ones these I'm going to use immediately. The point is to just create a couple ideas and then have a big list. And maybe if I feel so inclined, especially once follower emotes are open for everybody, put like a voting poll for something on Twitter. Because there's a couple I want to put in there for sure. And then if I've got extra slots, maybe folks on Twitter can vote for additional ones they'd like to see first. The eyes bugging out the foing one is definitely going to be part of that set. The Let's Go Bee that I drew a while back, that one's going to be in there. I want to put a beatbox Esh one on there too. So a lot of ideas. We'll just have to see how long before we get all that unlocked, and shouldn't be a long time. Let's see, we could do another grin type one. This could be like a head-on version of the one Sour Lad was talking about earlier. Totally not suspect at all. There's the color layer. I just had the idea to add an extra little anime style twinkle on the teeth. Let's see if I can get it to look right. No, might be too bright. Yeah, it's okay. I don't think it'd really show up that well, given how small the resolution's going to be on these. While I'm here, I think I'll just try and knock out a whole bunch of alternate expressions on this head-on emote template here, just to sort of put some ideas out there. And because I'm working off templates, it'll be pretty much just a matter of copying everything over, and then I'll sort of figure out what I want to draw, and then just recolor all the sections I need to. Oh, I need to make sure and work on a tools page. I need to do that. That way, in case people pop in and wonder what program I'm using, it'll be there on the main information page in the channel. On topic though, this is Clip Studio Paint that I'm using. And a fun fact, Wazzy was asking me some questions about using this software the other day. And she's not here right now, so I could talk about it. But she is attempting to learn Clip Studio. Oh, I need to remember to vector my line art on some of these. And I don't know if she's planning on working that into her content, but she said she wanted to learn another program to give herself some more flexibility when it came to her drawing tools, which is good. This is a good program to use. And if you don't want to give money to Adobe for things like Photoshop, then you can definitely avoid doing so with a program like Clip Studio. It is just as powerful, if not more varied in its tools for artists. Sour Lad said, looks like one of those Sonic ice creams. You're done with the ice cream bars? The ones that never look like the package? The face type ice creams. Yeah, exactly. I think everyone who had a childhood remember the days of going to the ice cream person and wanting to get like a Ninja Turtle face, and then you pull it out of the wrapper and it looks like some sort of horrible melted abomination. All it's missing is just something that looks like this. Sourlad says mint flavor hair. If I was gonna design an ice cream with my face on it, the hair wouldn't be mint. Mint is not my favorite flavor. I don't mind it, but for me, it would probably be like a berry, maybe a blueberry flavored hair. Maybe the eyes would be gumballs, or maybe like a berry punch. I like fruit flavors a lot more than mint. Sourlat says mint just to annoy Wazzy. Well, what I could do is make it so that the product has a 1 in 10 chance of the flavoring being mint. Sort of like a mystery flavor, which you have a chance of pulling if you buy the product. And so you never know what you're going to get. And if I mass produced a product like that, I would send a crate of them over to Wazzy, and it'd be like 25% mint ones, and the rest would be all regular berry flavored, and she would never know until she opened them up and tried them. All right, let's see. We've got 2 new potentials for the head-on renders. I think I'll save this here. Starlad says, "Oh, what about having the IB mint or those icebreaker fruit flavored mints?" I think I'd probably go for the fruit flavored mints that rather than just straight up mint, because mint does clash with a lot of flavors if you're trying to kind of put them together. Like, let's say the whole thing was berry flavored and the eyes were some sort of mint candy or gumball. I think that would be a little bit of a clashing flavor. The fruit flavor icebreaker fruit flavor ones would probably be okay, but like a straight up regular mint, peppermint or spearmint, I think would clash a little bit. Because even though I disagree with Wazi's theory that mint is a concept, I do agree with her statement that it's a very dominant flavor. Usually if you have mint in any capacity, it's going to be very prominent on the flavor profile. So unless I was doing an actual mint themed product, I probably wouldn't incorporate it just because it'd be all you taste. Sarlet says, of course, mint ruins things. I like spearmint more than peppermint. I don't mind them. But in things like drinks and other types of mixed products, you have to be kind of careful. Like, I think Mojito's one that has mint in it. And because it's muddled with other stuff, it's not too bad. But I wouldn't drink something like a mint julep. It's just very, very minty. Sour Lad says, at least it's not cinnamon candy. I like cinnamon. Cinnamon is a sort of spice and flavor I like a lot more than mint. To me, it's got kind of an autumn flavor to it. If mint, if you're thinking about like seasons, to me, mint is very winter. You know, candy canes and peppermint type stuff, very kind of wintry in flavor. To me, cinnamon is more autumn, fall. Even though I know the commercial default fall flavor is pumpkin spice, which, you know, I don't have an opinion on, but the spice in pumpkin spice is usually cinnamon or nutmeg. So to me, cinnamon, I think of freshly made apple cider or pies or things like that. Zarlat says, never had that cinnamon red ball candy. Fireballs? Oh yeah, it's been a long time since I've had them. Or gum? Yeah, I don't chew gum, really, but I have bought, what is it? That was Big Red, but the cinnamon sticks of chewing gum. I do like hot tamales, too. The Mike and Ike's chewy candy, the cinnamon ones, those are good. They're not my first choice, but I do like them. Sarlad says, as a spice, it's good. Yeah, you have to be kind of careful with cinnamon because it can overpower a lot of stuff. It's good as a flavor, but it also pairs well with things. You could do cinnamon and sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg. Pretty versatile. I actually have a really good recipe for scratch cider, non-alcoholic apple cider that I usually make in the fall and winter. I didn't this year because I just kind of forgot. But to break down the recipe, in case you're curious, is really simple. Maybe one ingredient out of the whole list is a little bit tricky to find, but you can usually just get it at a grocery store. I'll break down the sort of recipe real quick. I can write it down in case someone wants to screen cap it or something. Let me see. Let me hide the dudes. Problem is I have really bad handwriting. but I'll do my best here. This will be recipes with Oraku, new sub content topic. Sourlad says, if you ever have cinnamon sticks, I would recommend using it as a straw with warm milk. Oh, that sounds good. It would probably taste kind of like horchata, the cinnamon rice milk drink you can get in Mexican places. Let's see. So we're going to call this apple cider. And I'm going to approximate my measurements here. It really doesn't matter because it's a pretty easy recipe to sort of adapt. You need 1 apple juice, a large jug. Depending on how much you're going to make, just regular generic treetop or generic grocery store brand apple juice, it doesn't matter. Some of the ones that are like flavor blends or kind of a mix of pressed, it doesn't matter. You can literally use any kind of generic apple juice. Hey, Wazzy's here. Wazzy says, I'm in a meeting. Have a good stream, B-boy. Hey, Wazzy. Thanks for stopping by and saying what's up. Hope your meeting goes well. We were talking about you earlier. Don't worry about it. Hope your meeting goes well. Second ingredient. This one might not be readily obvious. Lemon juice. Let's say about half cup. Don't need a lot of that. 3 cloves. About, you got to be careful with cloves. Cloves are very potent. So I'd say about 1 to 2 tablespoons of cloves, depending on how big your batch is. If you're doing 1 jug of apple juice, maybe 1 tablespoon of cloves. Not a lot. And these are the ones you just get in the store. They're dried, usually in a bottle or like a tin. The ones people usually stick in hams. They look like little spikes. But they're very, very potent, so you don't want to overdo it on cloves. It's actually better to err on the side of less, unless you want nothing but clove spice flavor in your cider. And then the 4th and final ingredient is cinnamon sticks. And that's relevant because Sourlad called that up a little bit earlier in the chat. You can get these at most grocery stores in large bottles. They're not cheap. They can be a little bit spendy. But I recommend using this as opposed to powdered cinnamon because you don't have to worry about mixing. And powdered cinnamon will separate if you try and make it in something like this. Sourlad Redeem Hydrate. I will do so. I've got a bottle of Gamer Fuel right here. But most grocery stores, sometimes in the bulk food aisle, depending on your store, will have cinnamon sticks. And you need about 2 to 3 for a batch like this. If we're doing a large jug of just 1 jug of apple juice, I'd say maybe 2 to 3 sticks and you're good. Maybe about, the ones that I got were kind of large. They're maybe about 5 inches, but 2 or 3 of the ones half that length be perfectly fine. And that's your ingredient list. And to break down how you make all this stuff, pretty simple. Step 1, throw in large pot and boil for a few hours. And depending on how much you've got and how much time you have, I usually boil mine for about 4. I'll get it up to a decent boil, then drop the heat down so it's not a rolling boil, because you don't want it to be too high heat, else it'll start to evaporate a lot and you could actually burn your cider. You don't want to do that. So I would bring to a boil and then let simmer. Let's see. I'm going to say and simmer, just in case people take my directions very literally. Step 2. After boiling, strain out cloves. This step right here is also important. If you don't do this and you leave the cloves in your cider and then you store it, it'll continue to infuse flavor into the batch of cider. And over time, it'll taste like nothing but cloves. They're, again, very, very powerful in flavor. That's why you don't need too many of them, and that's why you don't want to leave them in your cider. If you do nothing else after you cook it, remember to strain the cloves out. They usually they float at the beginning, and I think as they boil, they'll sort of sink. So you could literally just take the whole batch, pour it via funnel into something, and just let the cloves settle to the bottom, and then don't pour them into whatever you're storing these in. And then final, store in large container in fridge with cinnamon sticks. And that was something I sort of found just by trial and error. Unlike the cloves, which infuse a really dominant, almost overpowering flavor over time, I found that keeping the fresh cinnamon sticks after boiling in whatever you're storing them in improves the flavor over time. You could just leave them in, if it's a big jug or something you're storing all your cider in the fridge, just put the sticks in the jug and leave them there the whole time. It'll sort of change the flavor and give it more of a cinnamony taste to it, but in my experience, even a month later, it doesn't overpower the flavor at all. But cloves will, so make sure you don't do that. Let me zoom out. Again, apologies, I have god-awful handwriting. But this is Raku's recipe for fall apple cider. Very simple. Most of the ingredients are readily easy to find, just a regular grocery store. But I encourage you folks at home to give it a try sometime. It's, to me, much better than the dry powdered as an alpine spice cider, apple cider, and I do like those. But tends to be on the sweet side, a little syrupy and sugary. With a recipe like this, you could actually dilute it more if you wanted, and then just use the natural spice flavors to get a good taste, as opposed to just pure sugar. So I would recommend it. If you folks want, for the sake of record keeping, I could put this on Twitter later. Not really relevant to the drawing stream, I know, but we're talking about foods and spices and stuff, and Sour Lad's comments just sort of set that off in my mind about something I could pass on to you folks. So I will put that away. I won't delete it. I'll just put it in the background. You can always pull it up if someone else wants to see it. Alright, let's save this. And let me create a new template in Clip Studio for something I wanted to try today. We'll just call this for clear everything off. This is what I was using to draw the beans for our salt table sessions. But I thought it would be fun and a good exercise in the creative brainstorming process for drawing to try and do a challenge of sorts today. And let me see. We had a browser source. That's not the one I want. Is this one? Yes, all right. I know how to use OBS. What I've got here, just for illustration purposes over in my browser, is a generator I found online just looking around. It's basically a creature generator. And if I just have it make something, this is a bipedal species. There's a couple different ones on here. But if I ask it to make something, it'll take a bunch of random attributes and it will create a narrative that explains what the creature looks like. And I thought it'd be fun to use this tool to create something and then try and draw it based on the description. And I know this has been done by other artists. I did not come up with this concept, but I've seen it done and I've never tried it on stream. And I figured it'd be a good experiment to try out just to see, from a concept design perspective, what we can come up with here. So we'll use this bipedal one, that's fine. And let's see what it gives us just by clicking the button. What I'll do is, let me hide this. I'll run the search and then get the caption and I'll just screen cap it and put it somewhere on screen. So let's do this. Oh, that is a big narrative. Okay. All right. I've got the general summary of the creature. There's going to be some stuff cut off, but it's just a description of its behavior as opposed to its design attributes. So let's do this. Should be able to just paste in a screen grab here. It's not the best way to do it, but I don't want to have to keep tabbing between windows. There we go. What I can do is just sort of hide and show the description if I need to explain stuff on stream, because I have it on my other monitor here. And the description says, the skin-covered biped has an ursine head with dull blue luminous eyes which watch you expressionlessly. It has a gaping snout which is incredibly fanged. It has rounded, huge, horse-like ears. Its quick neck is held straight. This rust-red shaded creature has a slim torso. Its forearms are strong and powerful. They end in strong, humanoid, sharply
money on my mother
clawed paws.
5 haircuts at the same time. White gold pants, jet ski made of wine. Foie gras bust of Albert Einstein. Get money.
Hey, Red Dragon subscribed. Hopefully you folks could hear my alert this time because I don't have my desktop source muted. I might need to up the overall sound effect if it's not too loud. But thanks, Red Dragon. Red Dragon says, that's a sub I owed you? I wasn't aware that you owed me a sub. Maybe I forgot. But thank you. Thank you, dude. Welcome to the Space Bee crew. Alright. What else does the description say? It's 4 arms, strong and powerful, and then strong humanoid, sharply clawed paws. It also has 8 dangerous butterfly-like wings, which are currently flapping. It can fly up to 200 miles per hour. Its 2 hind legs are weak and powerful. They end in powerful feline feet with long, hollow claws. It has no tail. It eats poultry and drinks water, and then the rest of it's sort of just behavioral descriptions. Oh, Red Dragon says, I told you I sub if you were older than me. I see. I remember now. Well, I certainly wasn't planning on holding you to that, but I appreciate it. Appreciate it greatly. Alright. So we are drawing a flying bear-like creature. And Red Dragon says, I keep my word. I respect that, dude. Like I said, much appreciated. Alright, I'm just going to put this on my other screen here. So we need something that's got a slim-ish torso. Has no tail. Ursine-shaped head, so that means shaped like a bear. Horse ears. Horses have big floppy ears, don't they? I guess it depends on the horse. Strong forearms and clawed paws. So what we're doing here is drawing a sort of primary. On kind of a pose for what we're trying to get for our creature. It said its hind legs are strong and weak. That's a bit contradictory, so we're instead of trying to figure out what they meant by that in the description, we'll do sort of shorter legs, feline feet with long hollow claws, so kind of paws. With claws on the end. Red Dragon says, no, they have small pointed ears. I don't know what horse ears look like. The description says it has huge horse-like ears. So they don't necessarily have to be floppy per se, but they have to be big. I can Google search stuff too. In fact, I'm gonna need to for some of these. And look up what a bear's face looks like. Bears have kind of a muzzle, but not a long, like snout like muzzle. Guess it depends on the type of bear too. All right. Yeah, I was kind of close. The nose sort of rounded like this. We could sort of workshop that a little bit. Now let me look up a horse. Ah, Red Dragon's right. They are small and sort of triangular, and they sort of sweep forward a little bit. Now, the description here said they're huge. So we could do something like this. Bigger than normal. What else? Gaping snout, which is incredibly fanged. Well, that's pretty easy to do. It's a bear with a lot of teeth. Red Dragon says, "Are you drawing a commission?" This is not a commission, so you might have popped in right before or right after I was showing off what I'm doing here. This is a pseudo drawing challenge that I'm trying out here. What I've done is I have gone to a site that does basically creature randomizers and asked it to create a creature from description, and it looks like this. This is just a cap from the site that I have in a page or window, in a tab on my window here, so you can't see it. But the point is to take the description from the random generator and try and draw it. And so if we take a look at the description, we've got ursine head. Make sure we'll have to do the dull blue luminous eyes that watch you expressionlessly. Gaping snout, which is incredibly fanged, right there. The huge horse-like ears. Oh, they're rounded too. So I need to round these off a little bit. That's where that comes from. Its quick neck is held straight, and it's rust red colored, and not furry, according to this. It said skin covered, not fur covered. So this thing's not going to be fuzzy. It has 8 dangerous butterfly-like wings, which are currently flapping. And it can fly up to 200 miles per hour. Well, that's going to be a challenge. How we're going to do 8 butterfly wings? I guess we can do something like this. Four and 4. Just imagine this thing flying at you at 200 miles per hour. We'll round these off a little bit. They have to be big and horse-like, but also not pointy. And it's got claws. Doesn't specify how many, so we'll do 3 fingers and a thumb. What I'm doing here, again, is sketching out the primary, trying to get basic details on a pose together for this thing. And then maybe I will do another one over the top and try and realize some of the details a little bit more. And then from there, once we have the details sort of inked in a little bit more concretely, then we'll go in and actually go put the line art and inking down and get everything else together. And color and shade will be the last few steps once we have all of these sort of things together. Red Dragon asks, do you do commissions? I do not do commissions at the moment, partly due to scheduling and also based on some past experiences in other content creation lives. I find commissions to be rather difficult, and specifically doing things to spec is a challenge. And if I was a better artist, then I probably would open up commissions, but I find them to be kind of difficult to do. But good question. All right. What we're going to do is take the primary and start putting in some more concrete details. And this thing needs to have big vacant eyes. So we'll kind of define those a little bit better. Need to make sure and have lots of teeth. I dropped the line weight down a little bit on my pencil tool here, just to let me work at some greater detail. Maybe that's a little too thin. Red Dragon says, when I ask for art, I normally leave all the details to the artist and just lay out what I want, aka pose, clothes, and whatnot. That's pretty good practice, I think. The problem is not everybody does that or has those expectations when they do commissions, or request commissions rather. And I haven't experienced it too much in the past as far as people being really particular or having a lot of iterations or whatnot. But I have some friends who work on commissions that have some kind of horror stories for people they've worked with, where the person requesting the commission kept on requesting a lot of changes, and it was very difficult for the artist to actually convey or understand what they wanted, and it was kind of a nightmare. And for that reason, it's just kind of something I don't really want to deal with right now, because a person may have a real specific vision of what they want, but if they can't communicate that, or the artist doesn't really understand, or if there's a disconnect somewhere, then it just makes the whole process more difficult and stressful for everyone involved. Kind of in line with what Red Dragon is saying when it comes to requesting commissions. When I've requested commissions from an artist, I kind of follow the guidelines and the strategy that Red Dragon's talking about, where I will basically come up with an idea and say, this is what I'm looking for as far as the end product. Here are the basic ideas or elements that I'm looking for. And then sort of just give free reign for the artist to interpret what I'm asking and go with the flow. I don't have a preconceived idea of what I want, because then if I have that idea but what the artist creates is not in line with that idea, then it becomes a challenge, like I mentioned before. So it's kind of like going in with no expectations, which might not be the right way to say it, but I really want the artist to come up with something, and usually I'm just going to go with the flow. I guess an only exception would be if it's based off something really specific. Like if I was going to be doing a commission based on my VTuber model, for example, I'd want there to be some specific things in the piece that's going to be reflective of my model, and details I'd want them to make sure and include, like, for example, the hair color should probably be blue. The outfit, if I'm not doing a special costume, should match the outfit of the model. Like maybe I'm paying for a dynamic action scene using my character. In that case, there's some on-model things that would need to be there, but other than that, I like to give the artist free reign just so it makes the commission process easier. Red Dragon says, "Yeah, I got an artist friend and YouTuber streamer was forcing. Okay, I got an artist friend and a YouTuber streamer was forcing everything faster and was trying to get more art for less money." And Red Dragon says, "I might post some of my favorite art commissions I paid for in the Discord." Yeah, go for it. And to sort of speak to your artist friend's experience there, like I said, in the couple times I worked on specific commission stuff way in the past, I never had to deal with any really bad customers, but just reading some of the experiences of people on places like Twitter when it comes to the prices people charge for their work, and customers having a preconceived idea of what they feel like they should be paying, that stuff just gets messy. It gets messy, and I really would rather not deal with all of the headaches than try and do that primarily. But I got a lot of respect for people that do a lot of commission work, because it's not easy. Like, for example, you folks may have heard this story before, but it's been a while. The first major commission I did when I started working as a VTuber was from Wazi of Team Toxicure, who is, I believe, in a meeting and not here. She was earlier. I think she left. But I commissioned her for a pretty decent sized project at the very beginning, right after I debuted. And in case those haven't been around as long and know what I'm talking about, the commission I asked Wazi for was for my loading screen animation. It's the thing that you see me playing when I start the stream. If I have to go AFK for a second or for an extended amount of time, usually I'll just let my model go to sleep on screen. But if I need to switch things up, then that loading screen is sort of like my intermission screen. And I did not know Wazi very well at the time. In fact, I had just met her via online and content. But I really dug her funny art style for her videos, and so I asked her. I DM'd her on Twitter. I said, hey, I know you don't know me very well, but if you're interested, I have a commission project for you, and we could talk about it if you're interested in taking the project on. And that whole process was how I got my loading screen. And it was a good experience, because I've never worked with an animator before. I've worked with regular artists, sort of graphic artists or drawing related artists, but never an animator. And so that was the first time I went through that process. And I'm sure she'll never admit it, but it was really easy working with Wazi. I gave her some ideas for things I wanted and said, I'm going to leave it up to you to sort of come up with the other parts. And we worked on it kind of in iterations and phases, and it turned out really well. Oh, I need to go look up butterfly wings. Butterfly wings have a specific, that kind of textured, almost like a window pane look. Oh yeah, this is like a monarch butterfly's wings. Very colorful. Let's see, how do I want to do that here? You do something like this, where all the sections you see sort of divided up here are colors, and then this part towards the end, kind of like I think this is a monarch butterfly, is a dark color. Now I gotta draw 8 of them. Red Dragon says posted and tagged you. If that's okay. Yeah, that's cool. In fact, I can look at it right now, so I can see what you shared. Oh, I gotcha. I'm assuming this was for some sort of avatar for you, Red Dragon, because it's a red dragon. That's pretty cool. I like that style a lot. It's kind of cartoony, but it's not super simplified. It's got a good amount of detail and shading. I'm gonna pull this up on my other monitor so I can see it better. Catstar 15. Yeah, that's really well done. I like that style a lot. The second one, this is with the red dragon fighting with the computer, it looks like. Possibly being pulled into a computer. I like the expressive design. That's really cool. I dig your artist friend style. Red Dragon says it's a stream setup screen. Oh, I see. That makes sense. I didn't know you stream, Red Dragon. You stream here on Twitch? Red Dragon says, yeah, badly? Oh, that's not true. There's no such thing as a standard of quality for streamers when it comes to content. As long as you're not just creating exploitive content, then there's no real standard. Just do your thing and try and keep learning as you go. Oh, there we go. Red Dragon has dropped the Twitch link. I will give you a follow and check out your channel later. Thanks for dropping that. Alright, let's take stock of our horrible winged abomination we've created here. These wings are going to be trouble. I can see it now. Drawing these is going to be a pain. But that's okay. I may have to either simplify or tweak the design so it's not a rendering nightmare. It'd be nice if there weren't 8 of them. All right, I think we can hide the lower primary. And let's check our description. Just see if there's anything else we're missing before we get to inking and sort of defining the line art for this. Red Dragon says, it's the same artist that does these emoji. A lot more on her Discord. Oh, okay. I recognize some of those that you've been using in the chat here, so that makes sense. Similar style. Red Dragon says, sorry for forced advertising. No, it's okay, man. It's cool. I always want to check out new artists, so there's nothing wrong with dropping some of the information for someone, especially if they're a friend of yours. But I did see that there's stuff in the Discord that you put with the images, so I can always check it out there too. So yeah, it's all good. Okay, let's pull up the description and see if there's anything else to add. Okay, Earth sign head, dull blue luminous eyes, gaping snout, incredibly fanged. Alright, horse-like ears. I still don't know what a quick neck is. Doesn't really specify length or size, so I'm gonna go with sort of the stubby neck we've got here. Forearms, clawed paws, 8 dangerous butterfly-like wings. I do not know what makes them dangerous, but there are 8 of them, and they're flapping. 2 hind legs, yeah. Feline claws, okay. I don't think we're missing anything here. Now we can move on to inking. Red Dragon says yours the Space Bees and she's the Cat Loafs. I love the name streamers come up with for their community. Yeah, the whole idea of communities names is tricky. I wrestled around with the idea for a community for all the stuff here on Twitch for a bit. And again, like I mentioned before, the whole bee theme that has become prominent on my channel and become kind of a meme associated with me was not my idea. In fact, that came from Wazzy too. Shortly after I met her and she started tuning into my streams and watching my content, her running joke that she made was that as a beatboxer, all of the sounds I make are the result of me being full of bees, and it just became a running joke. And I thought that was pretty funny. So when I was actually trying to figure out what to call my community, because I am an alien, I thought I can combine this funny thing that she thought of, which other people sort of latched onto, and combine that with the whole space alien theme, thus the Space Bees, which is pretty funny. And I had to kind of look around to make sure someone else didn't already have that kind of fan tag, and I didn't find anything. And so that's sort of where the Space Bees came from. Running with that theme, that's why the channel points icon is Space Honey. And I'm working on an updated Space Bee logo. The one is it on my Twitter? I think it's on my Twitter. Yeah, you can see it on my Twitter banner off to the right. It's a little graphic of a bee with a space helmet. I am working on an updated version of that at 2.0. I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm still working on it, but you can expect to see that at some point soon. Red Dragon says, would be lying if I didn't want us to be the boys. Uh, well, the boys meme didn't really come out and evolve until I started playing God Hand. And that's also a pretty funny running gag that has become common here since we played God Hand. But as funny as it would be to have the boys be the fan tag, again, I want to be as inclusive as possible when it comes to gender and stuff. And even though it'd be a really funny meme, having you folks called the boys would probably be weird to people that weren't boys. Naked Snake says, by the way, thank you. I have that God Hand song stuck in my head. I saw your post on the Discord, I think, when you added me, Snake. It's a good song. It is a hilarious, especially in English, song, but a fitting end to the chaos and insanity that is God Hand. And I really tried to keep my mouth shut throughout the playthrough because we talked about it a few times, and I didn't want to spoil it because the song is a banger and the actual ending credits sequence is really funny with all the characters and enemies dancing around. Very fitting for something like God Hand, which is why it's one of my favorite games. Alright, let's move on to inking. Naked Snake says, I feel like if God Hand was released nowadays, it would have done a lot better. I think so. If it was released nowadays, then it could have got a better budget behind it. With the success of really difficult games like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry and all the other stuff, especially assuming Platinum wasn't the one working on the title. If they were, it would be absolutely a hit. Without a doubt. In a lot of ways, God Hand was ahead of its time, despite not having a huge budget to be able to sort of cement itself as one of the AAA games at the time. But in interviews, from what I've read, Shinji Mikami, the guy who directed it, pretty much just had an idea for something he wanted to make on his own terms, and he didn't care if it was going to be commercially viable or the type of product that was going to sell millions of copies, because he'd already been doing that with Resident Evil and the other stuff he worked on, and he was burnt out as a result. So he said, I want to just make the game I want to make. And he made God Hand with the help of folks like Inaba. And it's such a weird way to sort of bookend the career of the Studio Clover, which again was known for really big, well-received titles like Okami, Beautiful Joe, and all sorts of stuff at the time that was pretty well acclaimed, and I think it would consider not third party, but like a AAA title under the ownership of Capcom. But of their legacy, the last thing on their record before they were shuttered is God Hand. And when you think of the history and all those other games, which are seen as like timeless classics, to have them go out on something very niche and weird like God Hand is very unusual to me. It's an interesting story. But between that and then the very bad press God Hand got at its release from rags such as IGN, again, back when IGN was actually reputable, no one takes them seriously now, really, but at the time they were a trusted source for video game news, and they gave God Hand a 3 out of 10. And I think it was Wooly was talking about it recently, but One of the things that was so funny about that panning of God Hand by the IGN people was in the article, they said, or the reviewer, he said, this game is garbage, but I also showed it to everybody in the IGN offices and they thought it was garbage. And so the idea that it was just this whole office of people just thought this obscure, underrated game was trash just tells you that overall the credibility is not necessarily the best. But we would find that out over the years as IGN became known for basically being bribed for their reviews. Snake says, who do you think owns the rights to God Hand now? We talked about that before. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure Capcom does. Because they owned Clover before. But I don't know for sure. Imagine if it was as easy as them just resurrecting the brand, they would have done it by now. Because God Hand's a pretty well-known cult classic. Red Dragon says, yeah, that isn't how you rate games. Well, if we're talking about the whole IGN debacle, they didn't do it just based on sort of a crowd mentality. But the reviewer said that as he was playing the game, he asked his peers what they thought, and they all thought it was garbage too. That wasn't necessarily the basis for the rating, but he was basically saying, you know, everyone thinks it's garbage. It's obviously garbage. Everyone's like, your opinion's garbage. Snake says, oh Jesus, Capcom, that game is going into the, I'm assuming like a game vault or void with all the other good Capcom games. Yeah, well, you can never say for sure that it's never going to happen, right? But like we've talked about, I don't know if Sour Lad is still here, but we've talked about previous brands and franchises under Capcom's ownership, which are dormant and or dead. But that doesn't mean they couldn't come back in the future, probably when you least expect it. Things like Onimusha, things like Breath of Fire or Darkstalkers. Properties that Capcom owns but has done really nothing viable with in forever. They're still there in some capacity, so you just never know. Oh, Sourlad is still here. Yeah, I only mentioned Sourlad because we were talking about Breath of Fire a while back. But you never know. Capcom's big franchises are things like, obviously, Monster Hunter, their biggest franchise in Japan and decently big outside of Japan. Resident Evil. Street Fighter, obviously. Street Fighter 6 is coming up with their questionable logo design. So you just never know. I thought it was wild that we got Devil May Cry 5. I thought for sure that franchise was dead and gone after the sort of branding nightmare that was DMC Devil May Cry, and just not having dedicated teams to work on it. I thought we would never see another game in that series again, and I need to go play Devil May Cry 5. I've played about halfway through it. I'm thinking about playing it on stream sometime, so we'll see. Starting over from the beginning. That could be fun. It's a good game. I just need to actually go through and beat it. Sarlet says, I mean, it would be hard to make new games that not many people know or care about in their eyes. Yeah, that's true. But you can still take a franchise that's been dormant or old, and as long as you take a good approach to the development and make it look interesting. Like, let's say they made Breath of Fire, what would it be, 6? 5 was Dragon Quarter, I think. They could make a new game with under the Breath of Fire brand, and as long as they made it look interesting, people would try it out. It just depends on how you market it and who you bring on to help work on it and develop the game. Snake says, reviewers can make a bad call when the game, like on Demon Souls when it first came out, it got a lot of low scores. People said the game was too hard. Oh yeah. The Souls series is sort of like the more contemporary example of reviewers sort of just translating difficulty to quality. That's sort of a generalization, but the point is, especially when that type of game, the Souls formula, was new and there was nothing else really like it at the time, people would write it off as saying, well, the game's poorly designed, that's why it's so hard, which is not true. The game's just designed to be difficult. And Sour Lad brings up a good case in point about Cuphead. The Reddit example we've talked about here on this channel was the one dude who was stuck on the tutorial level in Cuphead. He just couldn't get past the simple jumping puzzle and mechanic. And it was incredibly embarrassing. Even if you're not really a platformer, it was not a good look, and thus damaged his credibility as a reviewer. But it's kind of similar to Godhand's story for the 3 out of 10. Because a lot of the reviews for stuff that's difficult makes a lot of those tired arguments that, the game is just too hard because it's outdated. Or the gameplay elements are just old and archaic. And that's not true. It's just designed to be merciless types of games. Red Dragon says they're saying that about Elden Ring. Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm not saying the arguments are unfounded, but saying something is poorly designed just because it's difficult is not accurate. Naked Snake says, we're all waiting for the day when video game industries don't have dinosaurs anymore. Well, that would be nice. People just need to kind of keep an open mind, I think. Game might not be for you. It might not be your style of game, and that's okay. Like, I think Naked Snake, it's you that watches the Castle Super Beast guys, right? Did you see their podcast snippet about the Ubisoft game developers who were throwing shade at Elden Ring? Saying, they don't have modern or contemporary game design, and, Elden Ring is a flawed product as a result. One of the devs was from Horizon, Forbidden West, and a couple of the others were other people who worked on major Ubisoft titles. You're entitled to your opinion, but the idea that just because a game's not designed the way you like it means it's bad is not good. And not necessarily a good look as a professional in the game industry. You could be a journalist and say whatever, but when you actively work on properties, throwing direct shade like that's not necessarily good PR. Red Dragon says, might get Elder Scrolls 6 before the dinosaurs are out. Very possible. Well, like a good example, talk about discussions in quote-unquote outdated or archaic game design. Like take the Monster Hunter series, a series that's been around a lot longer than the Souls series, but sort of follows a similar model of the games are very difficult and built around the idea that you learn the game and get better at it, and then as you get better at it, part of the satisfaction comes from knowing you beat a challenge or got through an encounter that was difficult because you got better. You didn't just grind a level or get an overpowered piece of gear. You became a better player and thus were able to proceed through the game. That's a very core part of Monster Hunter's loop. And you see a lot of that emulated in the Souls games. But before Demon Souls and all that, people were saying the same thing about Monster Hunter. They're saying the game is hard because it's just poorly designed. It's antiquated, outdated, archaic design, and that's why it's hard. It's not a good game. It's just designed poorly because the devs are in the past. And that's what people said about Monster Hunter for a long time. But the reality is not everyone likes a game that's built around player-driven challenges. Some games are poorly designed, but some games like God Hand have mechanics that are put in place specifically to challenge the player because it's meant to be a challenging experience. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But you can't just write it off as being bad game design because really there's no Bible standard of what makes quote-unquote good games. You can't say Monster Hunter should play like God of War, otherwise it's a bad game. And I have seen that take before, because if everything played like everything else, we'd have no variety. Snake says, your game will do well if you time your release right. Yeah, that's true. The Horizon devs having their game come out at the same time as Elden Ring is not good timing. And considering the last time they did that was with Breath of the Wild, from what I read, you'd think they would have wanted to not have that situation happen again. Because I've heard Horizon Forbidden West is really good, but it came out at the same time as Elden Ring. Naked Snake says, game is not poorly designed, you are poorly designed. And in some cases, like, don't get me wrong, you can have badly designed games. Shovelware and other low effort titles that are just cash grabs or just garbage mobile games or whatnot can be poorly designed. But when you talk specifically about difficulty does not always mean poor game design. Sometimes it does if the game just doesn't play right and you can't control it and you get kind of like just a overload of jank. That is bad game design. But when it comes to difficulty, really just depends. That's why I wouldn't want to be in game journalism. Not only is it difficult, but everything you say is scrutinized. Snake says, I love Metal Gear Rising, but for the first time I played through, I was getting my ass kicked left and right until I stopped and started to learn how the enemy moves. Well, yeah, it's difficult, and it's challenging, but it's designed that way. People said the same thing about Bayonetta, and Bayonetta is a really polished game. And there are people at times saying Bayonetta's just designed, it's too difficult because it's poorly designed. And then you had the usual people making the points about, oh, her design is sexist and hypersexualized, which is kind of the point and why it's funny. And all your typical angry journalism comments, and it's like, well, Bayonetta was designed by a woman, so you can only take that argument so far. Snake says, I'm so excited for Bayonetta 3 with Bayonetta Virgil. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if we're going to get a release date in E3 this year. I don't know when the next Nintendo Direct is, but we should see something relatively soon because it's been a long time. We know it's coming soon. Last major Direct or whatever it was, they had the teaser footage and you actually saw gameplay. So it looks hype. I'm sure it's going to be great. But when, Platinum? When are we going to get Bayonetta 3? And when am I going to get Anarchy Reigns re-released on PC? How many times do I need to get blocked by Kamiya on Twitter before we get Anarchy Reigns? I freaking love that game. That's one of my favorite Platinum games, and not a lot of people played it. Naked Snake says, I'm so worried about the Mario movie and how we have not had a single trailer yet. Keep your expectations low, my friend. Keep your expectations low and you'll never be disappointed. If anything, it'll be fun to meme and make fun of. Snake says, at least the Sonic movie's looking great. Yeah, I'm very interested to see the new Sonic movie. I liked the first one. I thought the first one was pretty good. I'm going to talk about a property that had no right to be good at all. The Sonic movie. The fact that they went and did the redesign shows that the people making it cared, which is good. Given how Sonic's brand has been treated historically, they didn't have to do that. They could have just said, you know, we're just going to do whatever. But they made the effort. So props to them for that. Alright, let's take a look at our monstrosity here. It's hard to tell if this thing... Well, I guess they look like wings. I'm going to say either wings or Godzilla plates. Either or. Coloring the wings is going to be a nightmare, but that's alright. Snake says Sega needs to learn from the movie team. Yeah, I think the problem is Sega's game studios are not unified under one group. Like, it seems like they give the Sonic property different teams. So you'd have to standardize that, and good luck. But yeah, the Sonic community has not had the best luck of titles and releases. There's been some really good ones. There's also been some real bad ones too. It just depends. Alright, let's look at coloring this sucker now. Rust red. So it is going to be a reddish brown orange color. Naked Snake says, I'm a Sonic fan who played all the way through Sonic 06. Oh, you need to go talk to Penguin Party then, because he has it, but I don't think he's played all the way through it yet. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've talked to Penguin. But that is a feat of commitment, my friend. I have never played Sonic 06, but I have seen people play it, and it looks like quite the experience. It'd be one thing if the game's premise wasn't good, but the idea that it's mostly buggy and that's why the play experience is so bad is not really defendable. Because you can have some questionable design decisions and other things, but if your game just flat out plays badly, that's not good. Real quick, I'm just checking the... Where are we? There's a lot of them. Looking at the BGM list, maybe we can jump to one of the other lo-fi hip-hop ones. I have no idea which ones these we've been playing through. I haven't been paying attention. Oh, this is Asian lo-fi hip-hop. Huh. Did we already go through these other ones? Let's switch to a different artist group, just to switch up the tone. I really like the wire beat stuff. If you want some good free royalty-free content creating music, again, shout outs to Seth Everman. I think that project's really neat. Let's see, what was this other one? Was it Stream Beats? Yeah, Stream Beats by Harris Heller. Candy Shop. This one's fairly new. Snake says... Oh, Snake's played the Xbox version of Sonic 06. And Snake says, I was excited when I saw Castle Super Beast talk about the Shin movie verse. Shin movie verse? I'm gonna have to specify. I don't watch all of their clips, but I have seen their most recent ones. I actually haven't been listening to their discussion on Elden Ring so far because I know they're much farther in the game than I am. But once I beat it in like 2 years, I'll have to go back and listen to all of their discussions about going through the game. Oh, Snake says Shin Ultraman, Shin Kamen Rider, Shin Godzilla, Shin Eva. Oh, is that the big crossover thing you were telling us about? Yeah, I'm sure that'll be interesting. Snake says, I watched that Disney movie Turning Red. It was pretty good. I don't know what people were complaining about the art style for. That's the Red Panda one I've been seeing all the ads for everywhere. Snake says, yes, it's the Red Panda one. Red Dragon says, I played Elden Ring for about 60 hours now and made 32 characters. Have you beaten the game with any of the characters? I will say the character creator in that game is robust, but it's kind of difficult to use. It took me forever to create a character that I was happy with appearance-wise. Snake says, in regards to Turning Red, one surprising thing about that movie is it's set in 2002, so 20 years in the past. You can get your head around that. I don't like thinking of the fact that 2002 was 20 years ago. That makes me existentially compromised. Sour lad, redeem hydrate. Yes, sir. Sour lad says, remember to stretch your fingers and save. Yes, thank you for the save reminder. Red Dragon says, no, I just like making characters. I got 2 ring parts. Alright, Naked Snake, I'm hydrating. You don't need to burn all your points on hydrate. In fact, that seems like kind of a waste considering some of the more fun stuff is more expensive. Snake says I'm perfectly fine wasting my points. Yeah, man, you can do whatever you want. I'm just not going to chug my gamer fuel juice. I will take small sips in increments to hydrate. Red Dragon says, dude, how old do you feel thinking about how many generations were born and left school? I don't like to think about it, Red Dragon. Naked Snake says, when will the Backstreet Boys be back? Aren't they going on tour? Isn't there like a reunion tour or something going on? I thought I saw Dio mention something about that earlier. I don't know. I don't follow the Backstreet Boys. I am familiar with their hits since I was present in the 90s. And I found nothing wrong with their hits. Back then, boy bands, just like pop stars do nowadays, got a lot of hate for no reason. But some of their music was kind of generic. But other than that, I had no problem with it. The way this patterning sort of turned out is interesting. I think I'll leave the parts with sort of the boundary overflow. 'Cause it kind of looks like there's the cell parts of the wings are shaded. Not the intended effect, but it's not bad. Naked Snake says I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in to screw the rules. Red Dragon says looks like flowers. Yeah, I can see it. When you look at the pattern of really intricate butterfly wings, it's kind of flower adjacent. So I'm fine with that. Shading these is going to be fun. Red Dragon says, no, don't get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Just make responsible decisions. Speaking of trading cards, I don't know if you folks follow internet legend and overall hilarious man Charles White, but he recently posted a video a few days ago talking about a dude that is doing jail time for basically Pokemon card fraud. And it was a really interesting story. Basically, this guy who was claiming to own a business used, was it like 37, several tens of thousands of dollars in COVID relief money to buy a rare Charizard, and apparently posted about it online and got caught, and now is doing 3 years in jail for fraud. So don't do that. Snake says, screw the rules, I have money. Red Dragon says, share then. I wish I could say I'm screwing the rules because I have money. I never was a big collectible card guy. I did play Magic cards way back in the 90s, but I kind of noped out before the investment got too big. I'm sure all those cards I had would be worth something if I still had them now, but they have been lost to the ether. Red Dragon says, Magic the Gathering, yeah, it was fun. I liked it. I sucked at it, but I enjoyed it. I didn't really have any friends that played. I think that's kind of why I stopped. Naked Snake says, hey, chat, I'm going to be going to Universal and Disney World this month for my senior picnic. Is there anything you guys want? Yeah, I assumed you meant Chad. Chat, not Chad, but I'm good, Snake. Just go and have fun. Be safe. I have never been to Florida, but I wouldn't mind going sometime. I've heard Disney World's cool. I've only been to Disneyland and Universal in California, and that was a long time ago, a few years ago now. Big Snake says, I'm mainly going to see Harry Potter and Star Wars. Yeah, I saw Harry Potter World at Universal in California, and they hadn't opened the Star Wars part yet. But it was cool. I know nothing about Harry Potter, and I thought Harry Potter Land was neat. Went on some of the roller coasters. Sourlet says, Naked Snake, wait, you got a trip to Disney? Snake says, yeah, yes, we're having our senior trip. I don't even remember. I don't think senior trips had been invented when I was in school on Homeworld. Alright, what I'm doing now on the piece here, and I haven't talked about the drawing in a bit, is I'm just going through and doing a quick pass on shading. Sort of want to get the shadows to fall, and then I'll go back in and clean up the edges, and then we will be done with our horrible randomized creature. Snake says, you know, it's kind of hard living as a bunch of snakes in a person's skin suit. I'm sure that must make going through TSA very difficult. Sour Lad said, man, my school got no trip. F's in chat for Sour Lad. Red Dragon says, did you even have schools back in your day, Raku? Yes, as a matter of fact, we did, Red Dragon. All of our lessons were taught on stone tablets, and we rode pterodactyl-like dinosaur creatures to school every day, but we did have education. Snake says, my school paid for my trip. That's good. Hope you have fun. You will have to come back and tell all of us the stories of your adventures on your school trip and what you thought of the theme parks. Snake says, I'll tell you if I encounter the dangerous enemy called Florida Man. Last time Wazzy was on my stream, she had us all look up our Florida Zodiac. If you've never done that, folks that are here today, I think Sour Lad, you were there. I can't remember if Snake was or Red Dragon. But if you've never done that, I would give it a try. It's a hoot. Basically, you just take your birthday, month, and day, and Google Florida Man plus month and day, and your Florida Man Zodiac is a story that comes up tied to that date. And I'm not asking people to dox their birthdays or anything, but what we did last time when Wazzy suggested is we put our stuff into Google, and then we just put the name of the story that came up. It was pretty funny. Because there's a whole database repository of Florida Man stories, and so it pings off of the date. So yeah, give it a try. Just Google Florida Man plus your birth month and day. I think mine was something like Florida Man threatens to destroy town with army of turtles or something stupid. I see for this particular album by Stream Beats, we're going for nice, mellow, jazzy kind of feel. So smooth, I'm sliding out my seat here. Dragon says, mine is a Florida man was arrested for trying to drive a hamster ball into the Bahamas. Yep. That sounds like Florida Man. Oh, Florida Man. Basically become a brand at this point, which is funny. I'm glad my state's not known for anything wacky like that. Sour Lad says, Florida man claims bag of coke, meth found wrapped around his boys aren't his. I'm assuming he meant meth and not math, but that's... Oof. That's a good one. Naked Snake says, Florida man exposes himself to cheerleaders handing out candy canes at middle school deputies say, oh, God. Oh, they get worse. Florida man committing Florida man crimes. So that's family friendly for YouTube. Oof. It'd be one thing if there were just incidents in like a random incident generator, but it's all based on actual headlines of things that happen. That's horrifying. Naked Snake says the only reason we know all these is because Florida has an open archive. Yeah, the reference sources are pretty robust. I think it's taken from just police reports and a bunch of places knowing that people do things like Google their Florida man Zodiac thing. Just has all that stuff on tap by date, so you could just find the information. Makes you wonder if there's ever been a date or month combination where there isn't a Florida man incident yet. Like, as of right now, has there been one day where there was just no incident reported? I'd say it's not likely, but you never know. You get more incidents reported every day too. Alright, what I'm doing now is just moving down to the lower extremities here on our creature and putting the rough shading spots in. And then I'll go in and do the claws. And then the wings will be last. Snake says, nice Digimon, by the way. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It can't be a Digimon. It doesn't have a rocket launcher strapped to it. Or like a weirdly horny humanoid design. If anything, I've drawn an angry Neopet. Snake says, my favorite Digimon is a rabbit that's wearing jeans with miniguns for hands. Wasn't that a Season 2 Digimon? I don't know their names. It was one of the main characters. Is it that or the movie? Feel free to correct me, since I don't know them. But I remember one where it was like a machine gun toting. Was it like a light green rabbit or something? This is definitely a Christmas mix. Cookies and milk. Oh, maybe not. Nah, we'll just let it play. We're about halfway through. Naked Snake says, you know what's worse than Florida? California. I would argue that parts of California are worse. Not the state overall. My brother lives in Northern California. He lives in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area is pretty cool. I like it over there. People are kind of a lot more chill, and it's much less of an intense vibe. Like, I don't like LA. LA blows. I have family that lives there too, and I am always stressed out every time I go to LA. People there are wound so tight and they're just going constantly. Because, the grind set, I get it, but every time I'm in LA, I just feel stressed out. Sarlat says, I can't believe I won a duel because my opponent just lost 7,800 Let's Plays for nothing. Snake says, I did something funny recently. I made Virgil from Devil May Cry in Phantasy Star Online 2. I've heard that's a good game. Sourlad says life points. I know, Sourlad. I know Hearthstone terminology. I was just making a funny. Yeah, on the topic of Phantasy Star, a lot of the Monster Hunter crowd likes that game too, but it seems like it's a deep rabbit hole, which is why I haven't got into it. The design and aesthetic is cool. Alright, let me put the shading in on the wings, and then we'll go in and do the cleanup. Naked Snake says, it's like that one game you like with the girl who has the assless jeans? You're gonna have to be more specific. If you're talking about the stuff that we looked at in the Salt Table sessions, like some of those, yeah. Snake says you guys are critiquing their outfits. If you're talking about Star Ocean, like the one girl, Raimi from Star Ocean, I'm all for novelty, but at some point when it gets ridiculous, you got to draw a line. I'm not a prude. You can be as horny as you want with your designs, but at some point it gets a little bit gratuitous, Like, I like Bayonetta. I like the idea of subversion when it comes to expectations like that. But at some point it gets to be a little obnoxious. But yeah, I enjoyed our trial run through the Salt Table sessions. I don't know when we're doing another one. I know it's a busy month for the Toxic Cure folks. So if we don't get to do another one this month, we should be able to get one in April. We already started planning the next one and gathering the reference material for it. It's going to be a little different in format than the one that you saw last week before. But it should be interesting. I swear I heard like a slightly remixed version of Aloha Oi's melody in that last song. Guess it makes sense. It's called Beach Holiday. Snake says, I hear they're trying to resurrect the old gaming channel called G4 on cable television or on the internet, because I could believe the latter, not the former. I don't know how many gamers actually watch TV nowadays, but if they're trying to bring it back on regular TV, that's going to be an uphill fight. I never really watched G4. They were decently popular for a bit. What was it? Attack of the Show? Was that on G4? I don't remember. It's been forever. So what I'm doing now, as we sort of finish up on our weird randomizer creature, is I'm going through the different sections that I've highlighted and shadowed, and I'm just cleaning up the edges a bit. And I'm doing that just to sort of clean the shadows and make the lines a bit more consistent. And most of the sections on these lower extremities are pretty straightforward. One thing I need to get better at is dynamic lighting and shadows. I know how to do it from like a basic perspective, but I wouldn't consider myself the best shader in the world. Alright, now we just have to do the shadowing on the wings. I think I want to put a highlight on the eye too. We'll do that very last. See, our style has sort of switched up to more kind of hip-hop-ish type sound, maybe trap. Guess we'll see. Alright, let's see. A couple more sections. Alright, let's zoom out and take a look here. What I could do if I wanted, since one thing in the original description is that this thing is going like 200 miles per hour. I could add a layer and just put like a bunch of speed lines. Like that, or if I was going to do this in post, put like a motion blur on it. Alright, we'll take that off for now. What have we got? We have our skin-covered biped with a ursine-ish shaped head, gaping snout, lots of teeth, dull blue luminous eyes which watch you expressionlessly, gaping snout, rounded, huge horse-like ears, rust-red creature, slim torso, strong forearms with clawed paws, 8 dangerous butterfly wings, which are currently flapping, can fly up to 200 miles per hour. Its 2 hind legs are weak and powerful, and they end in feline feet with long hollow claws. Let's dump all this into one folder so I can manipulate it freely. Just dump all these layers, including the primaries. In here. And we can mess around with some alternate palettes. I usually do that for these, which is pretty fun. Alright. And I'll merge all this into one. Nope. The command works differently than it does in Photoshop. There we go. Merge layer below. Now we can tweak some other settings and get a different color. You know, some sort of AVA Unit 1 colors. It doesn't have any green. Call this 1B. Call this one 1C. And if you pull up the layer with all the colors that are merged and then just mess around with the hue and saturation sliders, then that's what I'm doing to create these alt palettes here. Very simple. It's like you would do in Photoshop, messing with the color balance and or hue or saturation. Where is it? Down here. Red Dragon says the red one looks nice. The original. Yeah, I think the original has the most sort of neutral color scheme. But the point of doing these alt palettes is just to come up with some more off-the-wall color designs. Like that one. That teal one's kind of funky. That's my favorite color. We'll do four. Four alts. Yeah, we can go for this sort of tan color. And then I'll sort of arrange these so you can see all of the different alts at the same time. Put one over here. This is the original. Number 2. 3. It's as very much a me and the boys going to go eat some campers vibes to it. I have no idea what I'm going to do with all of these drawings. One thing I'm working on, just so you folks are aware, I haven't talked about it a whole lot, but I am working on building a Discord. It is not quite finished yet, but as soon as it is built, then I'm going to put it in here on Twitch as a command, and I'll mention it on Twitter too. hopefully in the next month. I hope to have it completely built and ready, but it's going to have a place for artwork. So all the weird, wacky things that I draw will have its own home there. And if everyone at some point wants to see what I've drawn on stream, especially if we do sort of collaborative projects with the chat, kind of like Wazzy does on her Discord, it'll have its own dedicated place on mine. But let's take stock. I think that is going to do it for today. Again, I didn't have a plan today for stuff I wanted to work on. Just I wanted to sit down and do some free drawing. Next time, we are probably going to get back into character study. And I've got a couple different ideas for things I want to do that'll be a little more focused as opposed to these kind of random challenge type things. I do want to do some VTuber model brainstorming sessions where I kind of jot down some ideas for the next iteration of my model, which is far from the future, but it is something I'd like to think about. I would also like to return to our female character study we were working on and come up with one that I can start finalizing as far as the designs and costumes go. That one we haven't done for a few weeks. We're definitely due to get back to that one. And then from there, we'll just have to wait and see. And of course, working on emotes. I can do that on my own time too. But yeah, we will go ahead and start to wrap up. Thanks to all you folks who stopped by and hung out today. Let me go see who is online to raid that we can go and bug. Oh, Bits is online. Let us go and raid Bits. So before I do that, let me turn the BGM off. I'm going to take us out to the outro screen, which, again, for folks who might be new, if you haven't seen my outro, it was drawn by Pink and edited into a video by me. But I will go ahead and let that rock for a minute, and we will go and raid our good buddy Bits. So once again, thanks for stopping by, folks, and I will see you in the next stream. I believe we'll be streaming Vampire Survivors tomorrow. So I will catch you then. Let us commence the raid.